Welcome to this week's episode of Audio in Uproar. Today we have a special extended episode featuring a music video from Happy Axe, an interview with ARIA award-winning Australian rock icon Sarah McLeod, and a live performance from Grand Duke. Happy Axe has just released a debut EP titled This Topia. To find out more, follow the social media links listed below.
Can you tell us about your latest album, Rocky Steiner?
Well, where do I start? Let's see, there's a lot. I wrote it in New York. I decided that I wanted to write an album from beginning to end in one session, which I've never done before. Normally I write songs and I bugger around a bit and write another song, and over the course of a year or so you pick the best songs. this time I wanted to sit down, start writing with no preconceived ideas of what it should be. I had no tricks up my sleeve, anything, and I wanted to start and sit there and write until it was complete and not ever do anything else except write until the whole album was complete. And I thought the best way to do this is to get out of town because there's too many distractions where I am in Sydney or anywhere. So I thought I'll go to New York, which seems like there'll be more distractions, but I lived in New York for a while, so I sort of, I know it well, and I've kind of got all that partying out of my system, sort of. But there's something about New York that has this air of possibility and success, where you have that mindset when you're writing, and psychosomatically it helps. So I feel like my writing had less parameters in the windows that I would make for it. Like I could be more expressive in my writing because I wouldn't think, oh, I'm going to sound like a wanker if I say that, you know. But because I'm in New York, so I'm like, I'm totally going to say that. I feel like I may be a better writer. And yeah, I just sat there for 3 months. I got a little apartment in Brooklyn, and I sat in this one room. I took with me a giant Samsonite suitcase with nothing in it except all my audio gear. I couldn't have any clothes because there was no room. The only clothes I had were the clothes that wrapped up the audio gear as padding. So there was like one jacket and a pair of trackies, which I pretty much just wore the entire time. But I wasn't planning to go anywhere, so I thought if I don't bring clothes to go anywhere, then I won't be tempted to go anywhere because I just physically can't unless I want to go out in my trackies. And it was snowing, so it was freezing. So I just sat in that little room, looked out the window and wrote for 3 months straight. And each song took me about a week. And when I say a week, like I'm talking, I wake up and I sit at the desk for like 16 hours. I very rarely stop to eat. Like I'll eat, but I'll run to the fridge to get something, or just run to the convenience store and grab like a pound of ham and some beer. I just run everywhere because I just want to be back at the desk. So it's really, really intense. So once the brain goes to that intense creative place, if you can keep it there and keep writing the rest of the record, that's what I was trying to achieve. And I've never done it before. I've heard about people doing it, but I've never done it before. So I personally think that I wrote the best songs that I've ever written because I did it that way. So it's a good technique. All you songwriters out there want to try that, get on the roll and stay on the roll.
You've heard it, Sarah McLeod approved?
Yep.
So did you find different inspirations being in another country rather than being in Australia? Did it inspire your songwriting differently?
Yep, I had my whole theme for it was based on Little Italy. I love Little Italy, and that's why I got the red and white checkered tablecloth on stage tonight. So in my mind I had this idea of Rocky's Diner, which was a fictitious place, but in my mind it was a bar in Little Italy where people would come to connect, where souls would go to connect. It wasn't a restaurant, I mean it was, but it wasn't a restaurant for the food. Like people would go down there to, you know, cheers, like where everyone knows your name, you know, because you go into those restaurants and there's always like some sort of old man that greets you, and he's always very attentive to the ladies, and they really get you talking, they extract a lot of information, or maybe that's just me because I talk a lot. But I like the idea of that, and I like the idea of it being like a Lonely Hearts Club where people would go and just pour their hearts out and connect with everyone. And I called it Rocky's Diner because I had just watched all of the Rocky movies back to back right before I went to New York with my mum because I got it on a DVD box set for Christmas. I thought that because I was attempting to do, which was a big mission, it was to write a whole album in one hit. It was a big mission when I had no ideas for it prior. And I had told everyone that that's what I'm going to do. So I deliberately told everyone because I thought if I tell them, then I can't come back with one song because I'm going to look like a dick. So I've got to do what I said I would do. So I told everyone that I was doing it. So in my mind, it was like the fight of my life, you know. It was this huge challenge. So, and then watching all this Rocky, then I suddenly started thinking I was Rocky. And I was in the snow, and it was Christmas, you know, how he went to Russia in the snow in Fort Drago at Christmas. So that's why Rocky came into it, and then he morphed into the diner.
Did you write a book at the same time?
I have written a book. I was going to release it with the album, but so much has happened to me since I've downed tools on the book that I'm actually going to continue it now and just make the book longer and keep it going right up through till at least till I finish this musical that I'm about to do, because it's lots going on, so I want to get it all in the book. But what I've written so far, I love. I love reading the book. I've read it so many times. I love my own book.
That's a good sign. That was another question I had. You're going to do the American Idiot musical as well. Are you excited about getting on the road with that?
I couldn't be more excited about that. I've always wanted to do something like this, and I always thought that I would have to just sort of, you know, start some sort of amateur theatre and just give it a crack. And I can't believe they just went, "No, you can do it," and I get to play this rad role. Like, the role is so cool. It's the coolest role I could even imagine if I had to write the musical myself. And it's a guy, which is great. I'm like, unreal. So yeah, I'm really excited. And also to do it with Adelita and Phil, like, they're my friends. And I love the fact that the casting director chose people from our sort of clique of rock musicians, you know, like all our sort of 90s gang. I was like, oh, great casting. When Chris Chaney was doing it, because I love Chris, he's a good mate of mine. And then when Phil was doing it, I was like, those two are so good, great casting. And I was secretly like, I'm sure I could do that. And then when they got Ads and I into it, I was like, this is great, unreal.
You've been in, you know, different bands, you've worked with so many different musicians over the years. Do you have any dream collaborations left?
I would like to work with Mike Chapman. Yeah, he's a producer. He's always been my favourite, because I produce records as well. He's always been my favourite producer, and like, because I'm a real hands-on producer, like just like Mike Chapman. Like, I don't like producers that walk in and they go, "There's your band," and they turn it up and they make it sound nice. Like, I get in there and I'm like, pull the song apart, like, what chords you got, what lyrics, no, get rid of that, no, this is good. I've rewritten you a new chorus that goes like this, like really hands-on, and I love that. And the only other producer that I know of that does that so well is Mike Chapman, and he's the king in it. Like, I saw this interview with him once, and he said, no, I don't write songs, I write hits. And I was like, oh, this is so good. It's obnoxious, but it's wonderful. So yeah, I'd love to work with Mike Chapman.
And you produced your latest album as well, didn't you?
I did.
Was that a different process for you?
Yeah, it was. I had Steve Balby as well, doing executive producing with me, which was helpful. Basically, I make my demos so elaborate. I have the software and I produce up the song like it's going to be on the radio. Like, I program all the drums, like all the inflections in the hi-hat and all the fills and the kick patterns, and, you know, and play the bass according to the kick patterns. And I get right. That's what takes so long. That's why it takes 16 hours a day for like 7 days to do one song, because the song is evolving as I'm writing it. So I want to make sure that I make that demo the best it possibly can be, so I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt, the song itself. Because if I'm sort of laying it down a bit half-assed, I might start going, you know what, this song sucks, and then I'll ditch it, and then that song didn't get the chance because I didn't bring it up to life. So I give every idea like the benefit of the doubt. And if I'm really deep in it, and sometimes this happens and I'm really deep and I've, you know, programmed strings and timpanis and French horns, and I go, this actually does suck. And now I know for sure that one's no good. Then there's no stone unturned. I can let it go, I can sleep at night, and I can move on to the next one. With Rocky's Data, because I had made these really elaborate demos, we pretty much went into the studio and replaced track by track. So I got, like, you know, all my programmed drums. We got the drummer too. He just played exactly what I had programmed, but with proper drums in a nice studio. And then we just went through each guitar part and went, yep, now I'll play exactly that, but with this Marshall instead of going direct into the computer, and just sort of laid it up with the real sounds. So, you know, all of the main nuts and bolts I did while I was writing it.
One thing I wanted to ask you about was your guitar and bass hybrid. So where did sort of the idea from that come from?
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's super cool. I saw a guy, I once met a man in Cologne. No, I saw a guy in America about 15 years ago called Scott Lucas. He plays in a band called Local H, and the Super Jesus did some shows with them. We toured with them. We even brought them to Australia, and they toured with us here. And he was doing something like that, but I can't remember what it was that he was doing. I never actually bothered, because I wasn't sort of technically minded back then. I didn't think of that. I was just like, yay, rock and roll, party. But I never actually bothered to see what it was, how he was doing it. But I know he played bass and guitar at the same time, but I don't know what he did. But so then I knew it was possible, so I just mucked around. I just tinkered, and I bought all of these pieces of equipment, and then I took them to my guitar guy, and I was like, I have these things, what can we do with them? I'd like to put this in here and this in here and wrap that out and stick this in here and put this here and let's see if it works. And he did it, so that worked. But then I had to then work out a chain of what sort of pedals to put with it to make the bass actually sound like bass, and to be able to flick to go from bass to guitar, and then to have them both at the same time, you know, and then to have different sounds on the bass, so I can have layered sound with distortion and want sounds that get louder and louder. So it actually took me about 6 months of trial and error. I'm always down at the music store going, I'd like to try this pedal, please. And then I take it home, and then I go back and I'm like, I don't like this pedal at all. And they never let me take them back. I'm like, can you put it on consignment? Because I'll never see the pedals again. I don't know where, there's pedals everywhere. And then I just buy another one and I take it home. I'd like to try this pedal. And I'm like, no, okay, next one. Not really, you know, and I just sit there doing that, just massive trial and error. And I finally got a configuration that works. And the last piece of the puzzle I only got a few months ago, and it was like the piece de resistance. I was like, that's it, it's done, it's finally done. So I'm quite happy with that. It's like a little science project. And you know what's weird is that prior to this, my whole rock and roll life, I've never used pedals. I've never even had a pedal. You know, I go to gigs and everyone's setting up these pedal boards and I'm always like, wankers, just play. You know, I just think that they're just hiding behind pedals. And now I've got this full, that, you know, I've got an excuse because I've got the two sounds going on.
So what's your favourite part of the process? Is it the writing and the creating of the music, or once you actually get to have a finished product and get to show it to fans?
The writing of the process is the hardest and scariest, definitely the most difficult part of this craft, but once it's done, it's way more rewarding than playing any great show. So the shows are quite easy. The shows just go, they go, yeah, look, everybody's sort of done the work. Just look at me, woo, you know, had a few drinks and just showing off basically. But the writing is, so I would probably say I don't like the writing because that's the scary bit, that's hard, and I go, oh God, you know. But then when you're doing it, it's like, if you write a good song, or, you know, just even if you think it's a good song, you know, the moment that you finished it, like, or the moment you have these little penny drop moments where you think of a line and you go, oh, unreal. I love those moments. I love those moments. I live for those moments. That's what keeps me alive, I reckon. If I wasn't writing, I would have no purpose in life. It's those moments that I just keeps me wanting to write, because it's that carrot. You know, it's like, you never know what you're going to write around the corner. We're like little rabbits on the racetrack following that carrot around. Because, like, you know, tomorrow I might write something amazing. I might write nothing for 10 years. I don't know, but you never know. It's always the niggling thing that it could happen. It drives you crazy.
You've been doing music for so many years now, so many different projects, and you sort of, you know, you haven't at any point, you know, given up and said, no, that's it. What is it that keeps you wanting to come back and make more music?
I'm going to answer this without trying to sound arrogant. The thing is that I learn something new every day. I really do. Something musically, I learn something new every day. And it always astounds me that there's still things every day that I go, no shit! Wow! And then I feel like each day I feel like I'm better than I was yesterday. And I feel like, without sounding like a dick, I feel like I'm much better now than I was back then. And like, I never used to practice or anything, and I'm only just starting to actually put a bit of effort in, and I think, imagine what would happen if I actually try. So I feel like there's still so much more that I can learn, and then I can sort of manipulate into other pieces of art that I can put out, and to me that's really exciting. So I'll do it till I die, because I don't, you know, it's still coming, and it's not boring. And I have so much fun doing it.
I'll still be the first to say goodbye.
To find out where you can see Sarah McLeod on her Rocky's Diner album tour, follow the links listed below. information about upcoming Grand Duke shows, follow the social media links listed below. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Audio in Uproar, and thank you to Sarah McLeod for sitting down to have a chat with us. If you're an artist or in a band who'd like to be featured in an upcoming episode, contact us via the links listed below. My name's Ash, and I'll see you next time.